Our second keynote speaker today is a distinguished leader known for transforming financial services companies and driving innovation. He has spearheaded his company's evolution into a cutting-edge provider of payment solutions. With an impressive career that includes key positions at Procter & Gamble, First Data, and Wells Fargo, he has pioneered advancements in internet, cloud, and mobile payments. He is the CEO of a $2 billion Fortune 1000 company, and his book, Small Business Revolution, and his role as executive producer of the Emmy-nominated Small Business Revolution series highlight his and his company's dedication to supporting small businesses. Please welcome President and CEO of Deluxe, Barry McCarthy.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. You can do a little better than that. I heard you from the back. You can do a lot better than that. Good morning. All right, that's what I like. All right, this is Dale Carnegie. So let me tell you how excited I am to be with you all here. My name is Barry McCarthy, and it's really a privilege and honor to be with you here today. Dale Carnegie, the man, was a giant that taught us all so much. And I join you here to honor that legacy today and to further promote our common interest in self-improvement and making the world a better place. I'm humbled that you came to hear my remarks today, so I'll try very, very hard not to bore you. I'll do my best. But I'm here to share our story of transforming a 110-year-old check company into a trusted payments and data company. And by the time we're done, I'll leave you with 5 leadership lessons, and I hope that you'll leave a little bit inspired to go home and make an even bigger impact in our world. So I think you heard, I was all a little bit embarrassing, all that they said, but I run a company called Deluxe. The company's based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And are there Minnesotans here? Go Vikings, all right. Twins, we got anybody out there? All right. So we're a Fortune 1000 company headquartered in Minneapolis. We are traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and we're a component of many indices that you hear about on the radio all the time. And you may not realize it, but you, your family, your neighbors use a product that Deluxe makes almost every week, if not every single day. We support over 4 million small businesses, 4,000 banks and financial institutions, and hundreds of the world's leading brands. Annually, we process about $3 trillion a year in payment volume. Yes, that's trillion with a T, and yes, that's about 15% of the U.S. gross domestic product, or the GDP. But the company wasn't always like this. Our founder, a guy named W.R. Hotchkiss, he was born around the same time as Dale Carnegie, and while I didn't know either of them, I would guess they would both have been great friends because they shared so many principles in common. W.R. Hotchkiss needed a job, but he had an idea, and he went to his father-in-law and borrowed $300 in 1915 to form this company. His powerful idea was pretty simple, which was to make payments easier. He started with a vision to create a universally acceptable payment mechanism that would be easier, lower risk, and more secure than carrying around cash in your pocket. And his initial product was the checkbook. And it's lasted for generations. Now, I have the privilege of being the CEO today. I'm only the 9th CEO in the company's 110-year history. And my job is to recreate the company for the next generation and its digital-first future. I've been at the company about 6 years. Now, you probably know, or maybe you've known Deluxe historically as a check printer, right? That's our company's legacy. And while you may not have written a check at the grocery store anytime recently, checks are still a major tool for B2B payments, for how businesses pay each other, and for a bunch of other use cases. Not the grocery store so much anymore. And so here's a fun little fact for you, that we ship over 100,000 packages of checks to consumers and small businesses every day of the year, 363 days a year, 100,000 packages of checks every day. So everybody thinks the checks are gone. They're not gone. The use cases that are still here are pretty sturdy. You're not going to use a check at the grocery store or the gas station ever again, and that's okay. But as the digital age accelerated for our company, and we really started looking to the future, with the emergence of the internet, it really became obvious in the 1990s that the company sticking to its knitting exclusively to be a check printer wouldn't be enough to survive for the next generation. And so over the decade before I joined the company had been on an aggressive buying spree to widely diversify the company in an effort to offset that check decline. And in that period, the company acquired over 52 different companies in a decade, actually in about 7 years. And they bought them across the globe. Bought a web hosting company in Australia, a logo design company in the UK, a payroll company in Canada. In the US, one of the businesses was a company called Bags & Bows that makes luxury retail packaging. Now, I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, wow, how does that all fit together? And the only thing these businesses really had in common were target customers, which were banks and small businesses. And the strategy behind it all really was to become some sort of a supermarket for small businesses and financial institutions. Unfortunately, when I joined the company, they weren't really a supermarket at all. None of the businesses had been integrated. They were still operated as 52 different enterprises. It was actually more than that. And the company was really operating like a holding company or a company of companies, not a company that sells many different products. Now, put aside the fact that the integrations hadn't happened and the notion of a supermarket hadn't come to life, two significant problems with that strategy. First, in the internet age, banks and small businesses don't buy products that way. You can buy the best in class simply by doing a Google search. You figure out what you need and you buy it. You don't need a supermarket to buy whatever your need is. Second, each one of these businesses that have been acquired needed capital to grow. But the company was spending all of its capital acquiring the next business, not investing in the businesses that they had. So that's not a good recipe for success. And so while the company was successful in diversifying well beyond the slowly declining check business, instead of creating a growth company, a growth engine, Deluxe had simply become larger, global in scale, but declining, still declining. Further complicating this, over that same period of time, the company had started to starve its infrastructure. So imagine a company that was running on 50 different financial systems, 50 of them. 14 systems to keep track of the same customers, 14 of them. 5 different HR systems just so we could make payroll and find where our employees were. Likewise, imagine dozens of data centers and a sprawling real estate footprint consisting of over 3 million square feet. I joined the company thinking the company needed more product, marketing, and sales muscle. But that really wasn't the reality at all. The company had serious troubles and needed much, much more than some marketing muscle and invigoration. Many more changes were going to be required. So once you realize the spot you're in, you have to find a new path forward. You have to think of a new strategy. You got to find a new way. Doing what you've been doing is not going to work for tomorrow. So we immediately set about to fundamentally rethink the company's strategy. And the company thought its core competencies were printing and production. But upon closer inspection, really there were 3 competencies, which you can see here on the screen. And the 3 competencies were very different than the company had thought about before. First was trust and reputation. The company had the trust of customers, consumers, businesses, banks, because of the company's long history. And despite the significant diversification and lack of focus, Deluxe continues to have that legacy. Second, we saw reliability. This company was noted for its reliability. Great at securely managing highly sensitive personal identifiable information, or PII, and operating with high reliability. And the third thing is the company had scale. Pretty darn big scale and company. With these competencies and our problems, it became pretty darn clear that we needed to fully refocus the company on its roots of payments and data. So not only did we have to stop buying businesses, we were going to need to close or sell a bunch of the businesses that had been bought in the last 7 years. And that became the heart of our new strategy. Leverage the check relationships to grow our payments and data businesses using the competencies that I just laid out. And that is the heart and soul of what the company's doing today. So, great, okay, so you have problems, okay, you got a strategy, you know what you want to do and you know where you want to go, but now you got to make the place change, right? And you got to execute what turned out to be pretty radical change. And change is hard. I mean, let's just own it. Change is hard, and it's not part of most people's DNA. Most people don't wake up in the morning going, gosh, today's the day I want to change. It doesn't work like that. Dale Carnegie himself once said, when dealing with people, remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, you're dealing with creatures of emotion. Powerful, powerful message. So at Deluxe, we thought about that, and we got to work. So to set the stage, at Deluxe, we call each other Deluxers. That's what we call each other. And so at Deluxe, all of our Deluxers, we figured out we had this problem we had to go solve. So we understood the importance of people to drive the transformation, how important driving a transformation was going to be, and how the importance of making sure that people drive the transformation. Because transformation was crucial for us. For a lot of companies, it's a nice word. We had to do this. We had to change. And we knew it would take a lot from our Deluxers. So we need to find a way to drive engagement. We need to get people to buy in to the notion that we could even do this, that we could actually change a 100-year-old company to something different. So we got started with a program we called New Day, very uncreative, so any marketing people in the room will tell me I could have done better. But we call it New Day. We called it New Day because it was really representing a new day. You see, our people had to fundamentally believe that our company could do this. There were a lot of people with long tenure at the company that had seen many unsuccessful attempts, and some had given up. Others just didn't see a need to change at all. They liked the way it was. They were not paying attention to the fact of what's happening in the business. And others just had given up. Others just wanted to make it to retirement. But there was a core team that really believed that there's something here that we could do, and we got busy. But we had to build momentum. And so we did this program we call New Day to do that. We borrowed a term. If anybody knows anything about software development, there's a process called agile development where you take a lot of small steps at a time to move down a road, a series of small steps. And we borrowed that concept and said, let's do a series of these things called sprints, short little bursts to solve a problem, to build momentum and energy. And we organized the senior leaders around a series of sprints, tackling everything from the mission, purpose, values of the company, how we purchase products or inputs to our products, how we even produce things on the shop floor, meeting cadence, how we met and talked to each other, and even the coffee pot. There was a little work stream on the coffee pot. Silly, I know, but we did it because we wanted to get people engaged and committed and bought in to what we're trying to do and start building momentum. Each of the sprint teams would meet regularly, and every other week they had to report out to each other. So every 2 weeks they had to report. And nobody wanted to be the one to miss on their plan. So the first sprint that we took on was mission, purpose, values. I cannot understate the importance of this. So we had to really focus on clarifying our mission, purpose, and values, because we fundamentally believe we had to give people a reason why. Why are we going to take on all this pain to transform this 100-year-old company? Why are we doing it? And when we do it, does it matter? So why are we doing this? And we boiled our purpose down to the very simple thing that you see on the screen. Deluxe helps businesses succeed so communities can thrive. At the very core of that, that's what our company does, and that's what our company is about. You see, all of us at Deluxe, we believe that businesses are the only real, true growth engine of a community. And without that growth engine, you don't have an engine for societal success. When a business prospers, it creates jobs, supports families, and sparks demand for everything from car repair to Friday night pizza to restaurants, grocery stores, and more. Those businesses then have to hire more people that will buy more, and it becomes a virtuous cycle. But if businesses don't succeed, the cycle can't move. And if the cycle doesn't move, then all the things that we care about as a society, money for roads, parks, schools, healthcare, cannot happen. And Deluxe sits at the very center of that, helping drive businesses forward and helping businesses succeed. That kind of growth just simply ripples outward. More jobs, more resources for communities, et cetera. Okay, so the second big thing is the second big sprint that we went on. We can keep going forward. The second big sprint that we took on was defining or redefining our values. I'm going to put all this together for you in a minute. But we really figured out that we wanted to be a values, purpose, mission-driven company. And at the heart of that, we looked at our mission, our purpose, and we looked at what's central to that. The central piece of that are businesses, which are our customers. Of course, consumers are too, but businesses are our customers. And we had to put customers first, because if we couldn't satisfy our customers, that's our why, we couldn't make the cycle work. Equally important, we had to have the second area that we call trust, earning trust. We knew we'd have to exit or sell many of our businesses, which was going to have real impact on people's jobs, our fellow Deluxers. So we prioritized authenticity, honesty, and transparency with a massive focus on employee communication so they understood what we're doing. Third thing is we focused on innovation, our third pillar. To become a successful company, we knew we had to innovate, not just in products, but in every part of how we operated the company. Next thing we had to do, we had to really understand what was the foundation, what's underlying all of this, and it's this notion of grit and perseverance. We needed to be a team that was hardy and committed and focused on just simply getting things done. Just get it done, and powering us through difficulties that we knew were ahead of us. But a little foreshadowing, they couldn't possibly have been anything like what we actually found or had to live through. Lastly, we had to embrace the power of One Deluxe, which means bringing the best of yourself and your culture of ownership and belonging to work and working together across the enterprise, not in silos, not in self-interest, in the interest of the company in total. Together, these 5 values have really been the foundation or the bedrock of our transformation and our guidepost, sort of our North Star, if you will. So the next big thing was building commitment. Okay, so think about where we are, right? We figure out we have a problem, we need a new strategy, we have to get people on board with us. Then we have to build with mission, purpose, values. Then you've got to get people to buy in and actually want to do it. You got to get them committed to go on the journey with you. And we needed to engage the whole company. So we created a pretty bold plan to make every single employee in the company an owner. We gave every single employee stock in the company, all the way to including the guy on the plant floor sweeping the floor at night. I knew we had to win hearts and minds, and by making everybody an owner of the company, I figured we could do that in a big way. It worked. So let me tell you one of my very most favorite memories from that time. I got a note mailed to me, one of those little Hallmark kind of cards you might find at a Walgreens. And I open it, and the first thing I see, there's a picture of a newborn baby. And it's the baby wrapped in one of those hospital blankets, those striped blankets that you see everybody's baby's wrapped in one of those. And the note starts out saying, I'm a new father. I've never owned anything in my life. I don't own my car, it's leased. I rent not a nice apartment, but I rent my apartment. And he said, you know what I'm going to do with this stock? I'm starting a college fund for my newborn son. What you have done is change me from an employee to an owner. I believe in what we're doing. This is no longer just a job for me. I am part of something bigger than a paycheck. It's about my future, and it's about making a difference for a company that's been here for 100 years. Pretty stinking cool. So, there's always bumps in the road, right? Anything you do, anytime, anywhere you go, there are bumps in the road. Nothing goes exactly according to plan. And that really is this next area, which is about living our values. So I think we can keep moving up a little. So we just had seated our new management team, hired a new leadership team at the top level, my direct reports, in February of 2020. We had our first investor day the company had in 25 years. I think it was on the 12th of February of 2020. Within 5 days, our management team that had barely gotten to know each other were at home living in their basements. A bunch of the leaders had never even met their teams yet when COVID struck. Overnight, we lost 40% of our revenue. Overnight. We're all excited. We are go, go, go. We have laid all this great foundation, and overnight, bam, 40% of your company's gone. We had to, this really put the two of our values to the ultimate test about grit and perseverance and the power of one. Above all else, I knew that if we didn't demonstrate and lead with courage, we were not going to get across COVID, and we were not going to make the transformation happen. And I knew that the key to making this all happen was going to be this bold, decisive action based on our values and our purpose. Now, I got to say, it's not exactly a new thought. I'm not the first person that ever had it. Actually, there was this guy you all know named Dale Carnegie, and he said, inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. So, understanding that, we took swift action, prioritizing the protection of jobs and moving quickly to ensure stability. So instead of instituting a massive layoff like lots of other companies, commensurate with the decline in revenue, we went to our team, our fellow Deluxers, our teammates, and we laid out the facts. And we said, this is where we are, and to help us get over the divide, we're going to ask all of you to take a 20% pay cut. Me, the board, everyone in the organization, except for the folks on the shop floor, the hourly population. The crisis brought us together and preserved our ability to recover post-COVID because people believed that we were actually acting in their best interest to preserve their job for the long term, to help the company succeed for the long term. Our people rallied around each other. It was incredible. It was really incredible. And Deluxers were living that grit and perseverance. But I have to tell you, staying connected, I'm sure you all lived through the same thing I did, it was a super big challenge. So we did a bunch of things I'm sure lots of you did as well. We would host virtual happy hours. I recorded a virtual blog. And I literally had an Excel spreadsheet where I would keep track of every one of my direct reports at what moment of the day I had spoken to them to make sure that we were connected with each other and talking to each other every day. We sold our 54-acre headquarter campus in suburban St. Paul. We sold or exited dozens of the acquired businesses that were not working. We shuttered more than 1 million square feet of real estate, and we moved our headquarters to downtown Minneapolis immediately following the George Floyd murder and ensuing tumult to help be part of the solution. Despite all of these bold and difficult decisions, we acted with courage, a team of owners and people that had belonged and people that had purpose. So I want to talk next about the next sprint area, which was character. And character always matters. Your mom taught you that. Your dad taught you that. Your basketball coach taught you that. But character is most visible in tough times. I'm one that doesn't believe you have to be a jerk to get a lot of things done. I think you have to be tough. I think you have to be firm. You have to be decisive and strong. But that doesn't mean that you can't be kind, decent, and respectful. You can do the hardest things and still be kind, decent, and respectful. And if you do that, people will want to follow you. No one wants to work for a jerk or a bully that is just wielding a hatchet haphazardly, doesn't understand the impact. Everyone wants to work for someone who believes in them, is personally committed to their success, is truly authentic and willing to make tough calls, and through it all, treats people with dignity and respect. We think about all of this under this umbrella of servant leadership. So, people-centric leadership and leading by serving. I want to spend a minute or so on this. To embed our 5 values deeper into the culture of our DNA and into our DNA, I decided to supplement our leadership with a bunch of new talent. You heard me say that a minute ago. I tell everyone that comes to Deluxe, don't come here if you want the certainty of working at the post office. We're just not the post office. Lunch is not always at the same time. Yesterday isn't going to be like today, it's not going to be tomorrow. We are a company in wholesale change. Come here, though. Don't come here if you want to sit in the skybox. If you think you're going to be a senior leader of a company removed from the day-to-day fight, don't come here because we don't even have a skybox. We are all on the field, player coaches every day in the fight with our people, making plays, scoring points, and helping the company succeed. But come here if you want to drive change and deliver something sustaining and transformative, not just deliver little tiny bits of improvement. If that's the kind of place you want to be, then you should come and join Deluxe. That's what we tell people all the time. And our leadership philosophy, therefore, is really rooted in this notion of simplicity, of honoring each other. And it's about listening and responding and doing and supporting the real world needs of people, customers, and shareholders. Honestly, we see our jobs to serve our teams and our shareholders, not vice versa. We also share this philosophy, and W.R. Hotchkiss shared this philosophy with Dale Carnegie, who said a leader's job is not to dictate, but to inspire and guide others to reach their full potential. You see, our transformation was never just about reshaping the product mix in our company or the structure of our company. It was about fostering a culture that was people-focused and starting with our leadership. So we made maybe an unconventional decision through all of this change, which was that we decided to forego all the plush offices and the separate private floors. Instead, leaders sit alongside each other, often in open workspaces and with an open approach. It was super important to us because it was a shift and a bold message, a clear message to the organization that leadership style, that this was all about, not about perks and privileges, it was about being together as a team, about one company, about one Deluxe. And instead, the privilege is not all the things that you get. It's about the privilege is the honor of serving each other and supporting and helping our teams succeed. So I'm going to give you another one of my little favorite stories here. So we opened our Minneapolis new headquarters downtown. It's really cool. If you're ever in Minneapolis, we'd love to have you come and see us. And we operate in a hoteling model where no one has a permanently assigned location. So one morning, I'm in early, I've got a big day ahead. I sit down in one of this open spaces, I set up everything, and I'm just going to town busy. And at some point along in that early morning, somebody says, hey, excuse me, but you're sitting at the desk that I reserved. Still early in the morning, like, hey, you know what, this is a moment of truth. So I got up and I packed and moved. Because if we mean it, you gotta do it. You gotta do it if you mean it. So I also think you gotta go beyond your front door. We can't but be talking to ourselves, and your company gotta go outside. And so to make that happen, every one of our senior leaders is on a not-for-profit board. We've created a new benefit we call volunteer time off, or VTO. Every Deluxe employer can take up to 40 hours off, paid, to go volunteer in the community. Then we match that work, thank you. We match that volunteer time off with grants from our foundation so that we can take our time, our talent, and our treasure and magnify the commitment we can give back to the community. It's all part of the notion of what we talked about before, about our purpose and values of being a company that helps businesses succeed so communities thrive. You can see some of the kind of cool numbers that we have done for our communities in the recent past. It really is about magnifying the value of the treasure that we bring for the organization. We also have the W.R. Hotchkiss Scholarship Fund, helping employees of Deluxers and grandchildren of Deluxers to go on to universities. We just see all of this as an investment not only in Deluxers, but in our broader community. All right, so I think it's time for me to pivot and go on and tell you a little bit more about some leadership principles. So if you could fast forward for me, that would be great. The This is the transformation journey so far, where I gave you the story in 18, where we built a foundation where we are in becoming a digital media company and digital payments and data company, not a media company, sorry. And we've simplified our portfolio into 4 easy-to-understand businesses, which are print, which is our legacy check business, and others, data, B2B payments, and merchant. We're processing more than $3 trillion a year in volume, 150,000 merchants a year. The key thing here, though, is that for the first time in the company's 110-year history, our payments and data business are bigger than the legacy check business. A huge milestone for our company. But we've gone on from there as well, so we can keep moving ahead. Through 2023, we recorded 3 consecutive years of organic growth with profit growing faster than revenue, which we have not seen since 1996. The company's performing better than it has in decades. At our last earnings call, we beat consensus on every major metric, and year to date, our stock is up 25%. So what does, what comes next? And for our company, the next thing we've got something called North Star, which amplifies the work that's already been done, that helps us to go even further. And at our Investor Day a year ago, right about now in New York, we promised that we would we'd double the company's cash flow by 2026, and we'd increase the company's profitability by 25%. All of that delivering a 15% compound return for shareholders, and we've only just begun. Okay, so now I do want to kind of move towards the wrap-up and conclusion. There's 5 things I want you to take away. Hopefully there was a kernel in there that something meant something to you, but there's 5 things here that I think are important to take away. Number 1, understand your why and your values. It all starts here. You must be clear about why you're in your role, why you're at your organization, what you stand for, and why and where you're going. If you don't truly believe, your people can tell, and they won't believe you either. And if they don't believe you, they won't follow you. Second, be authentic and build trust. No one will follow anyone they don't trust. Be approachable and humble. Acknowledge your mistakes, hard sometimes, and over-communicate. When you feel like you've said it 100 times, say it 100 times more. And show people you understand what's going on and demonstrate the genuine concern for your employees' well-being. And once again, don't be a jerk. Always be kind, be decent, and respectful. Third, act with courage, commitment, and decisiveness. Change is hard, so don't delay making tough calls. A delayed decision is worse than no decision at all. A wrong decision can be changed. The clock cannot be rolled back. Time lost is gone forever. And I'll be really honest and transparent. I've made plenty of mistakes here too. And as they say in the Nike commercials, just go ahead and do it. Next, break the big problems into small bites to build momentum. Most people see a problem as a giant mountain that can't be moved. As the leader, you got to look at that as just a hill full of rocks, that if I got enough shovels, I will move the rocks out of the way. Success begets success. Momentum builds momentum. Start with small steps, move one rock at a time, celebrate the small steps. Don't worry about the big mountains, celebrate the small steps, and the sooner than you believe, the mountain will move. And last, serve, serve, serve. At the end of the day, that's what really, really counts. Put your team first. As a leader, you have an awesome responsibility for your team and their livelihoods and their families. And they're counting on you and they're trusting you. You are there to help them succeed, not aggrandize yourself. Find a way to help your people individually and as a team succeed, and in doing so, you will succeed. So the last thing I'd like to leave you with is one thought. If a century-old company like Deluxe that had lost its way, which had its biggest business in permanent secular decline, that decides to reinvent itself in the middle of the worst global pandemic and succeeds, there is no challenge that any of us cannot beat and win. Whether you're transforming your business, your community, or your personal life, remember you are in charge of you. So I know if you believe in yourself, you can do it. Thank you so very much for letting me share the story with you today. And like these folks, believe in your why and go make it happen. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barry. Please remain on the stage. Thank you. How wonderful. Thank you, Barry, for showing us what it really means to have servant leadership at the center of our philosophy.